Looking for a way to keep your sunglasses safe this season? I'm Tova with Professor Pincushion, and today I'm going to show you how to make a sunglass holder. There's nothing worse than your sunglasses getting all scratched up when not in use. Using scraps from your fabric stash, you can make this handy holder to keep your sunglasses in tip-top shape. This project is also a great gift for friends and family. Let's go ahead and get started. Here are some of the supplies I'm going to be using in order to create my sunglass holder. So of course I have my sunglasses. Now if you're not using sunglasses to create a customized sunglass holder, you can just use the dimensions that I use in order to create my pattern. I have fabric scissors, paper scissors, of course my sewing machine, and then an assortment of fabric. So I have my main fabric, which is going to be on the outside, my lining fabric, and then some fusible fleece here. You don't really need that much at all. You can pretty much do this with scraps of fabric, or you can use fat quarters if you wish. I have pins and needles. Flexible tape measure, I'm only using this if I want to measure my sunglasses in order to do a customized holder. I have some pattern paper, or you can just use some computer paper, a straight ruler, a pencil with an eraser, fabric marker, and some all-purpose thread. The only thing not shown here that I'm also using is my iron. If you want to do a customized pattern, you're going to use a flexible tape measure to take a couple of measurements. So I'm basically going to take the width and I'm going to take the length. Now you need to remember that you need to, especially for the width, you want to add a little bit extra, not only to be able to fit the glasses in, since you can see mine is not completely flat, but also for seam allowance. So as you can see, if I go to the widest point, it's a little over 2 inches, but I'm just going to do mine at 3.5 inches for the width. And the same thing for the length. So mine is about 6 inches, but I'm just going to go ahead and make it 7 inches. That way the sunglasses fit in there snugly without actually coming out at the end. It's very simple to create your pattern. It's just basically going to be a rectangle. So it's going to be the width by the length of your desired sunglass holder. So I did mine 3.5 inches by 7 inches. Now on one corner, I'm going to curve the edge. So I'm going to actually do it at the 1 inch mark this way and 1 inch mark this way. And you're just going to, so I'm just going to mark it like this so I know where I want to begin and end. And just kind of smoothly just curve off the corner until you get the desired look that you want. So after I do it with my pencil, I'm just going to do the final mark in the pen so you can see it. And then I could have just erased this corner and this would be my final line right here. I'm also going to do a little dot right here just to kind of mark where I'm going to stop sewing once I'm putting my holder together. So I'll show you that part. So pretty much my pattern is now done. So on this long side, opposite of the side where you have the curve, I'm just going to do a place on fold here. This is for when I'm cutting out my pattern pieces. So there's going to be one side that's placed on the fold, so we end up with a fabric piece that's twice the size of our pattern. So then you can just label it sunglass holder, and I'm going to cut one out of my fabric. I'm going to cut one out of my lining, and then I'm going to cut one out of my fusible fleece. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all those pieces, and then we'll move on to the assembly. Here are the fabric pieces that I'm going to be using in order to make my holder. I have my fusible fleece, my main fabric, and then my lining fabric. We're going to apply the fusible fleece to the wrong side of our main fabric. So I'm going to take this, flip it over, so I'm looking at the wrong side. I already have my iron heating up. The wrong side has the side with the glue bubbles here that I can fill my fusible fleece, so that's going to go to the wrong side of the fabric. And you just want everything to be lining up here. Just going to place my press cloth over it. And just carefully lay it down so you don't shift anything. Then I'm just going to dampen it. A little bit of water from my spray bottle here. Should be good. And then carefully place my iron down. Again, being careful not to shift anything. I'm going to lay it down there for about 5 seconds. Then when I need to move on to the next section, I'm going to carefully lift up the iron and then place it So I'm pressing another section until the fusible fleece is fused to the back of my main fabric. Take your two pieces, place them together, right side to right side, matching up the raw edge, and you're going to pin all the way around the perimeter. You'll see I have everything pinned, but I do have these two X's down here at the bottom. This is because we need to leave an opening so we can flip it all right side out after we've done our seam. So if I was to take this to my sewing machine, I'm going to start here, I'm going to stitch around, and then I'm going to stop when I get here. And I'm going to make sure I do a back stitch here and a back stitch here. There's not going to be any stitches in between. The gap between these is about 2 inches. I'm sewing my seam at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm just using a regular straight stitch. You'll notice I also have a walking foot on. This isn't necessary, but I definitely recommend it if you have it. It just makes it a little bit easier. I'm coming to a corner, so I'm just going to show you how I do a little pivot. So once I get close, let's say maybe a couple more stitches, about right there, I'm going to put my needle down into the fabric, lift my foot, and then I'm just going to turn my fabric, and then I can continue on the next side. Next, you're going to trim off any corners that you have. You can see I already did it here, so I still need to do this corner. Just going to cut off this fabric right here. Just make sure that you don't cut into your stitches, and any curved areas, you're going to cut these notches. You can see I have them here, and I still need to do this side here. Because next we're going to use our opening to flip it all right side out, and by cutting off the corners and the curved areas, it's going to keep the fabric from bunching up in those areas and just make it lay a little bit flatter. After you finish turning the whole thing right side out, give it a good press at your iron. I still have this opening here at the bottom, so I'm just turning under each side a 1/4 inch and folding it and then pressing it. If you need to put a pin there just to hold it, you can do that as well. Once you're done, you're going to do a top stitch around the perimeter, so you're going right along the edge and going all the way around. I'm still doing a regular straight stitch and getting really close to that edge. This is just going to make it look really nice and finished once the whole thing is done. And I like to look at the main fabric when I'm doing this instead of looking at the lining, just so I can make sure that it's going to look really nice and neat. Fold it in half lengthwise so your main fabric's on the outside, like this. And you're going to pin the two edges, so the short edge down here and this long edge here. We're not going to do this edge because this is the side where we're going to insert our glasses once it's done. And you'll remember on my pattern I had the circle dot, so I have my little circle dot right here on the right side of my fabric. This is just going to tell us where we're going to stop sewing. So after I pin it, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine. I'm going to start here, and you can do it right on your stitch that you did previously. So this is like an edge stitch. So I'm going to start here, don't forget to back stitch, go across, pivot, and go up, and then you're going to stop once you get to that mark. So all this is going to remain open like this. And just like that, my holder is done. So let's go ahead and test it out with my favorite sunglasses. You can see it has a nice lining in there as well. And my glasses fit perfectly. Because we have that fusible fleece in there, it's going to be a little bit more protected than just rolling around in my purse. And that's how you create a very simple sunglass holder. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe to get notified of our weekly releases. Also check out ProfessorPincushion.com to view our complete library with well over 350 sewing tutorials. If you would like to directly support us, you can check out our Patreon campaign and earn some exclusive perks. Thanks for watching.